All right, welcome to your first SAT lesson. This lesson, I think, is the most important lesson you'll ever have with us. It's the lesson where I'm going to lay out for you the exact game plan, step by step, that we've used to help thousands of students achieve great results. Excited to have you join us, excited to have you part of the journey, excited to be a part of this moment with you. SAT Lesson 1, let's dive in. So, first thing you have to discuss when talking about SAT prep is why prepare. Okay, um, it might seem obvious. I speak with students all the time. They say, "Oh, what do you mean my future? My future?" I got that. I understand that, but studying's not fun. I know you don't generally love studying. Maybe you're a special kind of guy, but you probably don't love studying. And so, if you really want to put in the time necessary here, because we're talking about 50 to 100 hours over the next year or so. Okay, if you really want to be able to put that time in, you really need to understand why. And the basic idea that I give is a visual of a scale. Okay, and I tell them that when the time comes for you to be considered for college, there's going to be this admissions officer. Imagine him cloaked in black, looking at this scale. And on one side of the scale, he is going to put your grades on every single test that you've taken in high school. And you know how many tests that is. We're talking about probably 100 a year, at least. Over 3 years, 3.5 years, that's 350 tests, maybe 500 tests, homeworks, assignments, all of that work, one side of the scale. It's going to put everything that you've accomplished outside of the classroom. So that's the championships that you've won, the hours you've put in, the apps you've developed. I don't know if any of you have done that yet, but you get the idea. Everything you've done, the competitions, the whole thing. And then really the person that you are, the friends that you've made, and all the things that matter, right? Who you are as a person, your ability to interact with other people and have a good life and make friends, which is so important. And that's all on one side of the scale. And then on the other side of the scale, a number on some silly standardized test. And the scales will go from, like this, and boom, even out. Now, when you hear this idea, a lot of people get agitated. They get angry. This is ridiculous. This is ridiculous. Let's cancel this system. And they get upset and they start arguing. But the smart parents, the smart students say, okay, this seems like a little bit of a weird system, but it seems like it's also an opportunity for me if I'm willing to put in that work. And there's really something here to exploit. So if you're someone who loves to save time, wants to put in the minimal effort to get the best results in their lives, this is the easiest area. You put in 100 hours here and you're going to completely transform your life. And I think the particulars of this are up for you to discover. And you could discover it through conversations with your parents, with your friends and stuff like that. But you have to figure out your why. And I have a video on this topic where I talk about this. But basically the gist is you have to understand why you need this test, okay? And it usually has something to do with a college. So understanding where you want to go, visiting that place, getting a feel for it, getting excited, because again, test prep is lame. It's not the thing that you're dying to do in your spare time. So the only way you're going to do it is if you say, well, look, if I put in 50, 60, 70 hours, I could have 4 years of incredible fun, career opportunities, just a different life. I went to NYU. I lived in the city for 4 years. I got a $25,000 a year scholarship because of my SAT score. And you'll hear me talk about my time at NYU, but I loved it. And I thought that if I hadn't had that, it would have been terrible. And if I had someone to show me Princeton or show me Stanford, I probably would have ended up there. And I, in some ways want to be that person for you. So figure out your why, and we'll talk more about this in future sessions. Assuming that you're starting at least a year prior to the test, and with some students, we start 2-3 years prior, okay? You get to use a combination of long-term study strategies and short-term study strategies. So let's start with long-term study strategies, okay? A long-term study strategy really means that we want to get you smarter, okay? They have a famous Hebrew saying that yes, there's someone who could change their world in 1 hour. And they say, in 1 hour, how could you change the whole world in an hour? And they say, no, it's not an hour that you could change the world. It's a turn, a slight turn, meaning imagine you have this road that you're on. Now imagine you make a tiny change in the trajectory. Well, if we go long and long enough, what's going to happen? Eventually, it's going to be a massive change in your trajectory by just a tiny little change in steering. So that's what we're talking about with long-term strategies. So with a long-term strategy, you could go up 300 to 400 points over a few years, and that's just slight changes. And we'll talk about a bunch of those that you can make over the course of this course. Small behaviors that you could change in your life that will increase your score. Easy, simple, And then on the other hand, we have the short-term strategies. The short-term strategy is going to be the cramming, and we're all good at short-term strategies, and it's going to revolve around tricks, tips, beating the test. You could go up 200, 250 points. That's the cram version. And for SAT, cramming is like a 6-month to a year strategy, So we'll always be balancing between those two things. Before we talk about improving on the SAT, I want to start with how do you improve at anything in life, okay? And we all know it's possible to improve at things, right? Like imagine you wanted to get better at basketball, right? You could get better. If you've gotten better at anything in your life, you know that. If we wanted to split it into two categories of ways that you can improve, what would those two categories be? You could take a second and try to think of the answer. Two categories that your basketball practice would be divided into. I say that it's drills and scrimmage, right? So let's look at those two areas. Drills basically means let's isolate the individual skills that make you good at basketball. That could be the lefty layup, the righty layup, the dribbling, the crossover, the defense, the footwork, the rebounding, the three-point shot, the foul shot, the pull-up jumper. I don't know. That seems like that's the right list, right? And that could be in any sport. You could break it down into its component parts, okay? Then you drill those parts. How do you drill a part? You just do 100 of it consecutively. You don't do anything else. You just boom, 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 boom. Muscle memory, right? So you drill individual parts. Then you got to play scrimmage. Why do you play scrimmage? Well, scrimmage is the area where you mix all those skills together and you practice in the real environment. You work on your stamina. You work on your awareness. You work on making the right decisions in the moment. And the other good thing of watching your scrimmages is that you could see where you're weak and then go back to drill. So these things work in tandem, okay? Now, obviously, this translates to test prep as well. And we have a three-pronged approach. We call it our cycle method. But it involves test immersion, which is the scrimmage, taking full practice tests. And if you're in a course with us, at some point, you're going to take practice tests, okay? That's core for us. And then you're going to analyze your test. We generate these score reports that actually pull out your weaknesses. So imagine you played basketball and we were able to tell you, listen, you were 0 for 3 on threes, pull-up jumpers to the right, you were 1 for 3. There was actually a moment when you could have driven left and we're able to replay that film for you. So we have all of that analysis. That's test analysis. And then the core curriculum, that's the drilling. That's learn how to do something and do it again. And we have an online portal that you'll use over the course of the course to drill things, video solutions, the whole thing. All right, so this is a scientific way to go up. It works. It makes sense. It's the same method you would use to improve at anything in the world, except that we have the incredible technology to support you on that. The next thing to know before we dive in is that test prep works, okay? It's a fact. You have so many people that come into the test prep process and they say, feel like you can't get better at the SAT. I feel like it's impossible. The SAT is so hard. Can't get better at it, right? They'll say something like that. To feel like it tests how smart you are, okay? And there is nothing more toxic to the process of improving your score than that mentality. Nothing more toxic. That mentality will ensure that you see absolutely zero progress. Zero. Because once you think you can't improve, you can't. And the sad part is that it is a fact that you can improve. Fact. Okay? And I'm going to show you exactly the evidence why. And once you know that, it'll really help. The first is, if you've heard anything about the anti-SAT, ACT sentiment, the idea of an adversity score, you heard about a company called Fair Test, where they're saying tests aren't fair. Why aren't they fair? Well, they're not fair because education works, because I could teach you to do better on the test, And so people that could afford test prep do have an advantage. It's a fact. That's why they made Khan Academy, to give a free option, right? But this just proves, and they have so many studies, they're actually the biggest advocates for test prep in their own way, the people that hate the test the most, right? So that's just, statistical. And then I know from my own experience, The idea that this is a fact. We've worked with thousands and thousands of students over the years. We give practice tests, and the growth is just test 1, test 2, test 3, test 4, test 5. Not only that, the amount of time they put in on the portal correlates directly to an increase in score. The people that put in the work get scores. I'm going to play you now a quick video of people talking about the increases, and the goal here is just to get you to realize, oh, this stuff works. Get yourself bought in. That way you don't have that, oh, it's impossible to improve excuse. We eliminate that right off the bat. So check this out.
I'm Raquel Silvera. I got a 1530 and I was bumped 280 points.
I'm Jane. My score went up 250 points.
And with the help of Revolution, I was able to jump 220 points to a 1360.
I started at 1280 and I increased 140 points to a 1420.
It shot up. I went up 150 points after a few lessons with Mara Scenario.
From a 1390 to a 1550.
I got a 1480 on my second SAT, which was a 160 point increase.
In the beginning of the year, my score was a 1050 and I actually ended with a 1420.
They customized something set for me exactly what I needed so that I could be able to reach my potential.
Besides prepping us for the actual test, Revolution also taught us what the test means and what it's going to help us achieve.
And these tutors in the Revolution program really know all the ins and outs. They took so many tests. They put hours and hours. They're experts at these tests.
I think the portal was very helpful because the homeworks just became part of my nightly homework. I never felt like I was overwhelmed by practicing for the SAT.
The practice tests were really good. Even the score reports were so detailed.
I knew that they actually wanted us to do well.
They give us words filled with energy, filled with inspiration.
I applied to 12 schools and I got into 11 of them.
Yelled to my mom, I got a 1460! We're jumping up and down like we're 5 years old.
I started yelling with excitement. My whole family started bombarding me with happiness and joy.
It felt great knowing that just by that one thing, one choice to use Revolution Tutors could have changed my whole life.
So now we have the mindset down. We know that we can improve. We know why we want to improve. We understand that this is a systematic approach that will get us results, okay? We have all that down. We understand it. Now it's just about following the protocol. So what I'm going to do right now is take you through the test, show you the different sections, show you the ways that we're going to start preparing you in each of the sections, all right? And that'll leave you with a framework. It'll leave you prepared. It'll have you understanding what's to come. And then from there, we just get to work, all right? So let's jump into it. The SAT is broken into 4 sections. The first one's the reading comprehension, then the English, then the math no calc, then the math calc. The reading and the English together, each of those are worth 400 points. They add up to 800 points. The math no calc and math calc add up to 800 points, but they're not equally weighted like the reading and English sections are, okay? The reading is the boring reading the passages again and again and again, puts you to sleep, not fun, answer questions. I think this is the most hated section. It happens to be my favorite, but reading comprehension, it's really a doozy of a way to open the test. Also, 65 minutes. 65 minutes of reading. You probably haven't read 65 minutes in your life, right? So we're going to talk about reading in depth in future lessons, all right? But let's just talk basics. How could you improve your reading score? So we got, again, long-term, short-term. In the long term, you got to read consistently. 5 minutes a day is enough. Reading anything besides for your text messages, Instagram captions, and the text on the screen on Instagram, okay? You got to go a little deeper. ESPN articles, not terrible. That's something, okay? I wouldn't say to start with Jane Eyre necessarily, right? Or some Frankenstein. Or start with an addicting basic book that you like. If you're a girl, you got the Jodi Picoult. I don't know who they read these days. If you're a guy, maybe pick a sports book. I don't mean to segment you. You could pick whatever you want, but pick something addicting. I got into Game of Thrones a year ago, and I hadn't read in years. And next thing I know, I'm hooked. I read for months straight, right? So it's about finding something you're going to enjoy, reading a little bit every day. Also understanding that, look, reading is a very, very powerful skill. You could talk to any adult. I always say, I have money, I need to invest. You know how I could figure out how to invest it? I could read Warren Buffett's book where he breaks down his lifetime of ideas on investments. Not bad, right? I want to learn how to market. There's a lot of good books on that, right? So, okay, we don't have to get into the full thing. I'll preach to you about reading a different day. But you got the idea. Long term, just a little reading every day You know, whether it be summer, whether it be during the school year, you got a book, you read for 5 minutes, you give yourself a timer, you give yourself a check on a box, you make a competition with your friends, something like that. Boom, boom, your score goes up from that. That's painless. That's painless. I always say, this might be a little much to admit, but going into my reading score, I got an 800 on reading. I was at a 700 leaving junior year. And you know what, I'm going to save this story for a different day. You'll hear me say it. I'll say it on a different lesson, but it'll explain to you the power of just plain reading. And then in terms of the short-term strategy, we're going to learn the question types, learn the passage types, drill SAT passages, practice test-taking strategies. I could teach you everything you need to know about reading. I'm going to break it down piece by piece. Your score will go up, and we will see improvement, even without understanding anything about reading. Okay, so we have those balance of let's get better at reading, but also let me just show you how it's done, and we will do that over the course of the lessons to come. The next section is the English section. Okay, the English section is the grammar section. It's a fun section. It's easy. The reading's light. You got to make some changes. People get frustrated because they say, look, I thought that it sounded right. I don't know why I got so many wrong. You know, it's that kind of section where you always feel like you're getting it right, or you just don't get it. I think grammar is really easy to improve. So in a long-term strategy, again, it's about reading. It's about paying attention to grammar while writing, editing your friends' papers, basic things of becoming aware of grammar. And again, grammar is key. I send emails and work all the time. I make one grammar mistake, boom, $20,000 contract in the garbage. One grammar mistake. I remember there was someone, I was pitching him, $15,000 account, had a grammar mistake in the email, lost it, done. Okay, so grammar, you want it. You're going to want it. Okay, so you should understand that. But also in the short term, for the SAT, it's 6 rules. You memorize the rules, score goes up. That's simple. We'll teach you the tricks. We'll teach you the strategies. Again, you drill it again, right? And that's it. Your English score goes up. This is easy. This is easy. I could take your English score with ease and raise it. All right? So that should be exciting for you, that English section. The next section is math without a calculator. So for a lot of us, this is like long division. You know, I don't remember how to do that. And I remember when they changed the SAT to this before I was adept at no calc, I was not happy. Not a happy camper. But listen, this is doable. We could get better at this. You train long division, putting fractions, you know, basic things, adding negatives and positives. I'll show you how to do all that. We'll review it. We'll get you sharp on it again, and your score goes up. I mean, it's really that simple in terms of the math no calc. And then in terms of the math calculator section, similar idea. I know that I remember this story about me with math. I thought I was terrible at math, terrible. And I got a 29 on a math test, and I'm not a nerd, but I don't get 29s. And a friend pulled me aside. He said, Morris, this you're too smart for this. This stuff's simple. I'll show you in 5 hours. I'll teach you everything we learned this year. 5 hours? In maybe 10 hours, he taught me everything. I got a 95 on the Regent. And that's basically the model for our Regents courses. It's the idea that math is not that complicated. It's a couple of basic systems. A lot of you have fallen behind at some point in math. It could be a bad teacher. It could be a bad year. Who knows, you know? But and math is very much step on top of step on top of step. But in this course, we are going to take your math skills, completely revamp them. We're going to teach you things. And again, you didn't know how to do completing the square. Now you do. Plus 10 points. You don't system of equations. You couldn't solve them exactly. Now you know how to do it. Score goes up 20 points. I mean, it's that simple, right? We show you how to do it. Your score will go up. And again, practice tests, see the breakdown, figure out the weaknesses, drill it, score goes up. Really, I mean, basic stuff. In terms of the short-term, long-term approach here, in the long term, listen, you have math class every day. Dig in there. Your math teachers are there to help you. They really can help you, and put in that time. Do the homework. I mean, I never did math homework. I think that's why my score wasn't good. If you don't do the homework, it's really hard. But in the short term, like I told you, we're going to be able to show you everything. I always say that I could look at a math choices, not even the question, choices, and I could guess better than 25%. It's my specialty skill. I'll show you how to do that in this course. You're going to love it, and your scores will go up. So that's, I think, very, very important. The last thing you need to understand for the SAT, and we'll wrap with this, is the concept of a curve. This test is graded on a curve. What that means, Okay, I'll tell you what it doesn't mean first. What it doesn't mean is what you think it means. Oh, they give you extra points. I heard you get 200 points for writing your name, right? That's how people think about it, and it's not a horrible thought, but it's just not. A curve just means as follows. Instead of grading you on a percentage basis, meaning you got 90% of the test right, that's a 90. You got 80% of the test right, that's an 80. You got 70% of the test right, that's a 70. Why does that not work, by the way? Why wouldn't you want them to do that? Why shouldn't they judge percentages? And they shouldn't do this anywhere. Percentage grades are terrible. Because sometimes a test is easy and everyone gets 100. And sometimes a test is hard and everyone gets a 70. And no one knows if it was the test or the student. So that's where the SAT comes in. They say, look, we're not going to grade you on your percentage. We're going to grade you relative to each other. You'll all take the test together. And then we'll just see who does, the person that does best, 1600. The next person, 1580. The next person, 1570. And then not exactly like that, obviously, right? But that idea. So you are in a horse race. This is a race against other students. So if a passage seems hard, it's not only hard for you, it's hard for everyone. If a math problem is hard, it's not only hard for you, it's hard for everyone. So at all times, you need to maintain the mindset that I'm in a race. All I got to do is go faster than the person next to me. All I got to do is beat him out a little bit. Just keep pushing. Hard problem, opportunity, right? We are in a race with everyone around us, everyone in the country, and you should take it personally. You should take it personally. There are people that are spending a lot of money on prep, that are working really hard to get into top-notch colleges, and then people that aren't, and then everyone in between, and then there's you. And where do you want to finish in this competition? All right, you got to light that fire. Know your why. Lock in. We got an unbelievable program coming for you. Okay, we are going to lay out everything for you over the course of the next year plus, guiding you to these tests. You have a tremendous opportunity in front of you, and so you got to realize that. The last thing I wanted to share is who we are and why we teach SAT. My name's Morris Kishk. I hope I introduced myself in the beginning. If I didn't, I hope that maybe we popped a little thing on the bottom. I got a 1580 when I took the SAT. I always thought I was going to be a lawyer. Everyone said you'd be great at law, Morris. You're ferocious. You could speak. You could argue. I probably would have been good. I went to NYU, and my father didn't want to let me dorm, so he told me, Morris, it's expensive. You got to pay on your own. So I said, yeah, sure, I'll pay, no problem. Okay. And then he came to me after freshman year and said, where's the money, Morris? And I said, money? How am I going to make money to pay apartments $15,000, something like that? So I used the one skill that I had, that 1580. I started tutoring my friends. At first, it was people a year or two younger than me. It was me and a friend that were doing this. And so we were able to really push them. You know, I'd lock them in, get them into a room, and I'd say, work, right? I'd just drill them. And it was fun. And I saw these kids who were kids like I had been, who suddenly had a sense of direction, a little guidance, start to blossom, start putting in work, taking their life seriously. I saw them end up throughout the country at different colleges. And then I'd start to see them from time to time, and I'd see them after, you know, what school do you go to? Oh, I'm here. It was all because of you. Thank you. Another guy, I love you. I just got this job. I'm a developer. And it's been years and years of this, of changing people's lives. So I know that you have a lot of people telling you what to do, how hard you have to work, pushing you, motivating you, and it's sometimes agitating. It's like, look, I want to chill. I want to have friends. I want to enjoy. I'm not the guy to tell you your whole life needs to be serious. You need to work like an animal. I like to chill, you know? So that's why I think I turned down law school and decided to do this full time. But my message and who I hope to be for you is someone who genuinely cares about you, who wants to help you get the best life possible for yourself with the minimal work, okay? And a team of people who are like you, who know what it's like to be you, who want to just help you get a better life, better experiences, more enjoyable experiences, better opportunities, new friends, all with the minimal possible efforts. That's who we are. We all love you. We want to work with you. We're here to support you. So treat us that way, as allies, as the people that want to be in your life, to be a friend. So that means email us for help. Reach out to me to have conversations. Reach out to any of our tutors. That's who this attracts. You know, that's the kind of people that we look for, the people that are a part of our team. So that's who we are. We have a team of incredible tutors. You're going to meet many of them throughout this course, and we're here for you. So that's pretty much it. I think you have a good idea about what needs to be done. I think you understand that change is possible, that growth is possible, that this is an opportunity to make your life better with minimal work, that we are here to support you in that we are going to be pushing you, we're going to be motivating you, we're going to be sometimes putting you in a spot you don't want to be. You don't want to work that hard, but it's all for you. And it's there because we know the change in your life that is possible with this work and with this process. I look forward to working with you, and we will speak again soon.